In this video, I'm gonna reveal a new, evergreen, and simple system that we're using to pump out organic content at scale and fill our calendar every single day with high-quality leads ready to buy. It's called the Content Cheat Code, and it flies in the face of what most people are telling you to do online when it comes to Hormozy-style content or going viral, because it creates a sustainable flywheel that converts rather than just getting you a bunch of views from people that will never buy your product or service in the first place. This is a proven client acquisition system that builds know, like, and trust with cold strangers before they ever even get on a call with your team. And the best part is it can be managed by one person and only takes a few hours a month from you as the business owner. We've personally used this to go from struggling to hit 6 figures to generating just under $2 million in cash in less than 18 months, all with less than 6,000 followers on Instagram at the time of this video. It's allowed us to book calls on autopilot, keeping costs below $140 per book call. And here's a screenshot of our last 60 days to prove it. If you're a high-ticket coach, course creator, consultant, or online service provider, this is not only the best way to scale right now, but the ones that don't implement organic content in the way I'm gonna show you here will be left behind 3 to 4 years from now. Organic content is no longer a nice to have, it's a necessity. Why? Because what used to work a few years ago is just no longer sustainable. See, most people's client acquisition usually looks something like this. Someone that's never heard of you sees an ad, a cold email, a DM from a setter, or a social post. Maybe they click through to your VSL or webinar. From there, they book a call. Between the time they booked and when they show up for the call, they get hit with a million other ads just like yours, and they forget who you are or why they booked this in the first place. So your sales rep spends most of the time on that call convincing them of the value your program brings. They go through the demo, and the prospect says something like, "This sounds great," and that they'll get back to you soon. And then they ghost you. Or worse, there is no system, and you're relying on referrals, word of mouth, and networking events, leaving you in an unpredictable, exhausting cycle of feast or famine. But as ad costs are rising, accounts are being shut down left and right, and Instagram and YouTube feeds are drowning in talking head reels, the truth is, the barriers to entry have never been lower. There's no shortage of information, and anybody can throw up a funnel and start a coaching program or agency tomorrow. So not only is competition higher than ever, but trust is at a historical low, and clients are more skeptical than ever. This all leads to high cost per book call, people no-showing you, and spending the majority of your sales calls trying to convince prospects to come over the line, ultimately just ending up in you getting ghosted and losing business to your better-known competition. In short, the customer journey has changed. And if you're gonna stay in business, your marketing must also evolve. Google has proved this with its 7-4-11 study, which found that there's a new step in the customer buying process that wasn't there previously, and they're calling it the zero moment of truth. The zero moment of truth is the step after their initial exposure to your brand. The data showed that consumers now go through a process of educating themselves before ultimately making a decision to purchase or not. In essence, they make the decision before they ever get on the sales call with you, before you ever even meet them. This phase requires, as Google found in their study, 7 hours of exposure to the brand, product, and team across 4 different locations and 11 different touch points during this stage before they make a purchasing decision. And how did consumers ultimately come to reach 7 hours of exposure? You guessed it. Through content across multiple platforms and in multiple different formats. Google searches, videos, blogs, social media posts, podcasts, reviews. So this means that in order to drive sales, this education process is critical. We not only need to manufacture a process that leads the consumer to decide, yeah, they want to work with you, but we also need to get them to that 7-hour mark as quickly as possible. This is where the trust is built. So what this means is if you don't have a process in place to build this trust before they speak with you, your likelihood of getting the sale drops significantly and you leave it up to pure chance. The trust is built in those 7 hours before you ever even interact with them. And increasing amounts of trust are required, especially for high-ticket sales, as the price rises. So we not only need to manufacture and optimize the content journey to lead consumers to a buying decision, but we need to get them to that 7-hour mark as quickly as possible. You can see this in our data. We constantly see that our best clients, the ones that buy and pay in full on the sales call, have been exposed to tons of our content. So this guy, right, he came in from an ad here. So he booked a call with us from the ad, but then you can see he lands on our YouTube and consumes all of this YouTube content in between the time that he booked the call and the time that the call happened. All of this YouTube content, all the way up, ultimately leading in what was a purchase. Content allows you to build trust at scale and with speed. It lets you control the conversation your prospects have in their mind and positions you as the go-to expert to solve their problem. And you don't need a massive team behind you, a videographer to follow you around, or millions of views to make this work either. It's why Alex Hormozi has blown up and gone all in on content. It's why Cody Sanchez just said she's going all in on content. It's why Russell Brunson, who spends $2 million a month on ads and is becoming increasingly unprofitable on paid ads alone, recently said on his podcast that he's focused on organic and revamping his strategy. All of these people are household names because they went all in on content. But more importantly, because they have a brand, they could go launch a new product and scale it to $100 million practically overnight. Let's face it, there's nothing truly unique about any of the products or services that they offer. And they're not the only ones doing it. There's a chance that they aren't even the best in the space at what they do, but we think they are simply because they're the best known. It's the same reason that this hoodie, when it has no branding, is worth about 20 bucks. But the minute that Nike slaps their logo on it, which by the way, this is the exact same hoodie, it easily sells for $75 or more. What this means for us is that no matter how you're currently getting clients, organic content is like throwing gasoline on the fire. It's the path to building a bulletproof brand. You're running paid ads, watch costs go down and close rates go up as you add in content. If you're doing cold email and LinkedIn outreach, watch response rates climb and book calls go up. Networking in person or speaking on stages, opportunities will flow to you like never before. Now, unlike all the people I just mentioned who have entire teams of people focused just on their content and are spending upwards of $70,000 a month on a media team, I didn't have any of that when I was first starting out. But I knew the power of visibility, and so I went all in on figuring out how to get the same results for way less time and way less money. And that's when I created the content cheat code that we use here at Upper Hand Creative, and that we've now installed in over 200 clients' businesses to date. So, what is the content cheat code? Now, before I get into this, I want to tell you I'm going to get pretty in the weeds here in terms of strategy, and it will seem a little overwhelming, but I want you to stick with me until the end because I promise I'm going to show you an easier way. The first thing is what we call the playbook. What most people do when creating content is they look at Alex Hormozi or Grant Cardone or anybody with a bunch of views and followers, and they try to copy what they're doing. If you were selling a low-ticket, direct-to-consumer product to a broad audience, I'd say, sure, keep doing that. It works for Mr. Beast because he's selling hamburgers and chocolate bars to the masses. This leads you to ultimately focus on optimizing for views though, not conversions. But we're focused on selling high-ticket services to an audience that has a very specific problem, which means we're not trying to reach the broad masses. And in that case, short-form content alone is actually pretty terrible for conversion. Take one of our clients, Steven, for example. When he first started with us, he had grown his Instagram to over 60,000 followers and had several viral videos that hit over a few million views. But you know what Steven didn't have? A single sale. Not one. And on top of that, he watched as his audience went from mostly US based to more than half in India. Not that there's anything wrong with India, but those are not the people that are going to be buying his $2,000 course. That's why the first part of the playbook centers around creating long-form videos first. You, as a business owner, you have a limited amount of time. So rather than spending it creating endless reels that are going to live for maybe a week or two, if we're lucky, what if you focus on creating a few long-form, high-value videos that will live forever? So here's what I mean. This is a screenshot from a video on my channel that I made in September of 2021. To this day, it's still in the top 3 performing videos for me, and it's actually picked up more views than it did when it first published. You can see from this line here that it's continuing to grow in view count. This is a pretty specific topic, so the traffic coming through watching this video is also very targeted. You don't get that with short form. Long form content is one of the most valuable assets that you can have for your business because you create it once and it continues to drive targeted quality leads and sales for years to come. And long form creates the 7 hours of exposure that we need to get to a sale. It would take hundreds of short form videos to get anything close to that. Now, this doesn't mean that we want to ignore short form content altogether. It's still a big part of our strategy, but it's secondary to long form content. And when you tackle it in this order, now you're not just another talking head reel trying to compete with the Gary V's and the Hormozis of the world, where you're just going to get drowned out. This process is about creating leverage. And as a business owner with limited bandwidth and time, this playbook lets you focus on the long form content the thing with the highest return, while you let the systems work behind you to convert that into short form content without taking up any of your time. So the playbook consists of the right content strategy in the right order, and then it also consists of the systems and processes needed to carry this out on autopilot. This is exactly what we did for our client Quasi. He had already built his brand through YouTube when he started with us, and he had mastered long form. In order to continue growing his channel and expand his audience, he wanted to add in short form. Without any additional filming or effort from Quasi, we placed a trained content specialist in his business who was able to take clips from his existing YouTube content to create shorts and reels. And in the first 90 days, he gained over 5,000 followers and he hit over 160,000 views on a single reel. And I know what you're thinking at this point, isn't it difficult to make good content though? After working with over 200 entrepreneurs, in my experience, the more complex we make a video, the worse it performs. People can tell when you're not being authentic, so trying to copy the styles or trends that you see working for other people, instead of just showing up as yourself, is not only the main reason content falls flat, but it also makes filming extremely difficult. Instead, you want to find what I call your unique delivery style. This is a combination of the things that you are deeply knowledgeable about, the conversations that you're probably already having daily with your team or clients, and your personality. So this means you no longer have to try to be something you're not or agonize over what you're gonna say. You just show up on camera talking about what you've done that's worked or what you're doing for clients that's working. And it makes content creation extremely simple when you're talking about things you're an expert in, rather than trying to be funny or entertaining or do something that you're not just for the sake of views. If you're naturally funny or entertaining, of course, we want to use that, but it's all about giving value. The reason this works is because YouTube is the place people go for answers, for education. Aside from music videos, tutorial videos are the second most watched content on YouTube. Here's an example. This video from Thomas Frank, How I Automate My Finances, there's nothing special about this video. He's just sitting in front of the camera, walking you through his spreadsheet. We're not looking to be famous, we're looking to drive sales. So you don't need fancy equipment to do this. And in fact, the simpler the video, the better. That video I showed you earlier that continues to drive views for my channel is probably one of the ugliest, worst produced that I have. It's just me talking about what I got from this book. A conversation that you probably have with a friend over dinner. Great movies are made in the editing. Your content is no different. The raw footage behind your favorite YouTube videos would probably make you laugh hysterically if you could see it. So the playbook not only gives you the roadmap for your content strategy, but it's what allows your editor to understand this as well. The jump cuts, the effects, the text emphasis you see, they're all done by an editor, and you don't have to spend a second thinking about any of that when you're filming. It also means that you can film this all in one take. So when you mess up, keep recording and just be sure to pause for a second or two before picking up where you left off. Your editor, following the right playbook, can clean it up and cut out all the mistakes. Don't I need to hire a team of people to do this? And the reason most people don't do organic content at the level that they need to is because they don't have a team behind them that's following the right system. All the best people like Hormozy or Cody Sanchez are posting as much as they are solely because they have a team behind them to do this. But even when you're just starting out or you're much smaller and you're in the beginning stages of building your brand, you have to have at least one person behind you. You can't do this all yourself unless that's your full-time job, but it's not. You've got a business to run. But that doesn't mean you have to spend $70K a month like them, or even $5,000 to $6,000 a month like what most of the agencies are charging to get the same results. What most people do at this point is they A, think they have to find an insanely talented and expensive creative director, or B, they hire a $3 an hour VA or editor on Upwork and expect them to not just edit videos, but also be great at writing captions, understanding social, posting to all the different platforms, and managing all the content. Either way, this is a recipe for disaster. You're essentially crossing your fingers, hoping it'll work out because you're relying on that person to make it work. And if you're relying solely on good people, it's not sustainable. At the end of the day, humans are inconsistent, even the best of us. That's why we need the right systems behind them. When you can strip away every task or duty you want this role to do and identify the one very specific skill that if this person mastered would make everything else easier or unnecessary, now you no longer have to find a unicorn that can do everything well. Think about it. It's much easier to find someone that is really, really good at one thing than finding someone that's good at 3 or 4 different things. Everything else outside of that one skill, we can then automate or fully systematize if you know what you're doing. But when you don't have the proven roadmap or you don't know what systems you need, well, then sure, yeah, you have to hire a rock star who does know it all. Dr. Benjamin Hardy puts it this way in his book, 10x is greater than 2x. He calls it a unique ability, the thing that only you can do, that you do really well, that brings the most revenue to the business. While he makes the case that everything you do as a CEO should be in service to stripping away anything that's not within your unique ability, what we've done is create this for every level of the team, not just the executive level or for you as the founder. This allows each team member to focus 80% of their time on the 20% of the efforts that are actually producing. Imagine how much productivity and results increase when you have every unit firing at their best 80% of the time. Now, not only are your team members happier and more fulfilled in their role, which means the quality of their work is better, but you can now combine what would have required an expensive executive type role into a single role. What would normally require at least 3 different people between an editor, a creative director, and a social media manager at the very least, easily running about $6,000 to $7,000 per month in payroll, can now be run by one person, what we call a content specialist. What is the one thing that if this role mastered, everything else would be unnecessary or extremely easy? The mistake most people make at this stage is they say, oh, video editing. I need a great video editor. But a video editor needs a lot of direction. They need you to spell out exactly what you want from them. And sure, they have the technical skills to dice up your videos and add some B-roll, but without the creative eye required to tell a story, you'll get back clips that are totally off-brand, not engaging, have no hook, or just make no sense whatsoever. So instead, we look for video storytellers, not just video editors, because they'll understand not only how to take the best parts for social media from your long-form content, but also how to edit with human psychology in mind. What's going to keep people engaged and bring them through a process to shift their beliefs and ultimately leading them to decide to buy your product. That's what good content does. It shifts beliefs. It brings people from not knowing to knowing, and then seeing your brand as the answer to their problems, giving you expert status. Everything else this role would need, the important but lower value tasks like specific nuances of each social media platform or knowing how to post, we can now automate or create a system around it. So here's what this looks like. This is what the content specialist would do. Edit the videos and repurpose. The systems would do everything for them. So it'd be the captions, the posting and scheduling, the project management, and the strategy is all contained and spelled out with how to execute within the playbook. Once the raw footage is uploaded, it applies the correct checklists and SOPs the editor needs to handle everything from editing for YouTube, repurposing that long form into other pieces of content, and yes, writing captions, applying hashtags, and scheduling posts. And when you get this right, it levels the playing field. Just like our client Ross, who when he came to us, he was in the middle of building out his new AI offer. He had 0 time to focus on marketing in order to get this thing ready to launch, but with our system and his content specialist dialed in, he went from having no audience to being flooded with over 200 quality leads when he did launch his offer. But how do you find this person? In the US, we pay more for specialized knowledge. We're used to this. But because we no longer need a unicorn or executive level strategy director to do this, we can easily leverage geographic arbitrage. This is where you can use the power of a stronger currency in a weaker economy to make your money go further. In other words, to get this insanely talented person with a killer attitude full-time on your team, you're looking at probably anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 per month in the States for just that single person. But that same talent overseas can be less than $1,000 a month. Yeah, but hiring overseas is difficult though, right? They can't communicate and they're flaky. I've hired more than 300 people overseas over the last 6 years. I've hired for myself and over 200 clients to date. In my experience, the reason that most people have issues hiring overseas usually starts in the hiring process. They throw up a post on online jobs or they search through Fiverr and Upwork, they send out 10 random test tasks, they interview 3 people, maybe, and they go with the one that looks the best or has the best portfolio. Then, they give this person a checklist or SOP that they've never actually done themselves and expect them to crush it. But to find the right person, you have to interview in massive quantity. Instead of interviewing 10 people, you have to interview hundreds. And every part of the process, just like your lead journey, has to be strategically and carefully crafted. Treat your hiring like a funnel. This process allows us to screen over 800 plus applicants every single month, and they opt in just like a lead would, and then we qualify their application automatically. We're only looking for people that want full-time work, not flaky freelancers. So if they say yes to full-time, they immediately get sent a test project, and the thank you page has a video letting them know what to do next. This test task is very strategically crafted to show us if this person has a mastery of the specific skill we need or not. Now, this is much harder to fake than a few interview questions or sending in a portfolio. Plus, we're also able to test important soft skills by putting hidden directions throughout the process. So for example, the test task email is intentionally long, with directions for what they need to write in a reply back to us at the very end. So if they complete the test project, but they don't respond to the email like we asked, they're disqualified. And keep in mind, we haven't sent a single email manually. We haven't looked at a single cover letter, a resume, or a portfolio at this point, and we haven't spent a single second on the hiring process up to this point, which is great for us because as you can see here, less than 3% of these applicants actually qualify to come to our interviews. Everything up until this point is automated. There's no human interaction required from our team. This allows us to screen down to the best of the best. But the hiring process is just the beginning. So even if you get the hiring part right, it's not enough to hire slow and have SOPs that are more detailed than a government tax bill. Most businesses have SOPs or checklists, but most suck at quality control. Look at McDonald's, right? They don't just hire people off the street, give them the playbook, and never talk to them again. There are quality control checks, meetings, progress reports, reviews, and ongoing training. Why would your content specialist be any different? Your new hire process should be as carefully constructed as your new client onboarding process is. Now, we have a proven system for getting them ramped up in less than 28 days, and this consists of hours of video modules carefully constructed in a specific order to get them up to speed without overwhelming them. There are checkpoints, and they have to complete certain tasks along the way and submit for review and coaching. All the while, they have full support, constant feedback, and full-time access to a dedicated team to help them as they learn. This process doesn't stop when they pass training. Aside from pay, one of the top 3 reasons employees leave, or worse, quiet quit, is due to lack of engagement. And that usually is caused by a lack of progress and growth provided from their current position, which is almost directly related to leadership. Ongoing feedback, opportunities to improve, learn, and grow, and consistent ways for an employee to feel that they're contributing to something bigger than them are all necessary to not just keep your team, but to keep them happy and producing. Now again, the idea here is leverage. So even if you followed everything up until this point, you're still looking at least a few hours a week to manage and pour into this person. Plus, when it comes to content and marketing, industry needs and competition, technology, tools, all of that are constantly evolving. So if you don't have a system in place to keep them up to date on the latest, you quickly fall behind. So that's where the right system comes into play, and this is what we provide for our clients so that they don't have to. We have expert copywriters, editors, and operations people that lead weekly coaching calls. Again, we treat it just like we would our clients. Between weekly coaching calls, updated trainings, and constant real-time feedback, our content specialists are some of the most productive and happiest in the game, arguably. And we've seen this so many times that our clients are ecstatic with their content specialists. Take Quasi, for example, who was only doing YouTube when he started with us and paying an expensive agency thousands of dollars a month just to edit for him. He was able to replace them with his content specialist and go all in on short form with no additional effort from him.
Hey, my name is Quasi Joe here. I'm the founder of realitycreator.com. I wanted to make this quick testimonial video for Gianna and her team at Upper Hand Creative. They sent us a hire that completely changed our YouTube game. He quickly became the head of our organic marketing and edits all of my videos and does all the animations. We have around 700,000 subscribers ever since that person was brought on. He's taken a lot off my plate. That was the best investment I had made last year, hands down.
All right. So you have a picture of the entire content cheat code at this point that's generated us $2 million in cash in less than 18 months. A few caveats. This is not for everyone. So if you're just looking to get famous on social media, but you don't have an actual high-ticket business online, then this is not for you. If you care more about vanity metrics like subscribers and views than you do sales, this is not for you. If you're not a true expert in your field or you're not willing to get on camera, this isn't for you. But if you're serious about building your brand so that you can scale your business, then this is the fastest path to start pumping out content on autopilot. And as Mr. Beast said, right now, most of the content on YouTube is subpar. But every day, more and more people are figuring it out. More and more high-ticket businesses are recognizing that this is where the future is headed, which means just like the trend of Instagram and Facebook ad costs, competition will rise. It'll become harder and harder to rise through the noise and build your audience. And the pie of available attention will be split and split again until slices are smaller and smaller, and it'll become more expensive to do this. The brands that you're admiring right now with millions of followers just started 3 years ago doing what you need to be doing today. That's the only difference between them and you. So you now have the roadmap, and you can take everything I gave you in this video and go try to execute this yourself. Or you could significantly shortcut your learning curve, bypass all the trial and error, and install a pre-trained and onboarded content specialist in your business who already knows this proven system and get ahead of the curve rather than spending the next 6 months trying to get this dialed in. Hopefully, either way, you got a ton of value from this video, and we're excited to meet with you on the call. Talk soon.